Welcome to the Path to Empowerment with Philip and Jane Montrose. Path to Empowerment with Holistic Coaching and Healing. Jane?
Yes, welcome everyone.
This is going to be a great webinar filled with very useful information, holistic tools, usable information about how to be empowered on your path. You know the old saying, to thine own self be true from Shakespeare. This is to thine own self, to your higher self, in alignment with your higher self to be true. How to do that, what that means, and it is an essential part of the journey to awakening. And we want to talk about how to do that in very specific ways. And we're going to have a live demonstration with some spiritual kinesiology, healing from the soul as well. And we know what it's like to be sort of out there in the dark woods, as they say, and feeling doubt and insecurity. That's normal. That's part of the process, something we all go through. And we need that sort of energizing us to awaken, sort of sometimes to awaken us out of our either complacency or suffering or both, to a greater life where that no longer becomes tolerable. What is currently okay today, we know there's much more for us, and that's part of the path to empowerment. So Jane, let's talk about where most people get confused, lost in the wilderness.
Right, or you could say wallowing in the mud, which we'll follow up on that one too. And it is, of course, we're talking about a very deep and profound journey. And the challenge most people face initially is that we're taught to rely on other people for defining who we are and what's right for us, what to value, even whether we have any value. And that's appropriate, actually, not not about not having any value, but it's appropriate to a point to rely on others for their wisdom. And of course, it's always appropriate to have input and information and to communicate with others. But in terms of actually relying on other people for our sense of self and our sense of where to go with our lives, there is a point we reach when we need to fly on our own. And it's interesting, Philip and I, we have a long history, a very long history. And we initially met in a spiritual organization. It was one of the ones where the leader was the source of wisdom and everyone followed the leader, which is not, it's not unusual for in a spiritual group for that to be the case. Um, the problem is at a certain point you wonder, well, when am I going to learn to
Mm-hmm.
access my own wisdom? And it actually was not part of that training. I don't want to put it down completely because we learned a whole lot of really amazing things and things that we still teach now in the courses that we offer. But at a certain point we wondered, well, where are we going to find our own wisdom? And we left the organization and went off on our own, which which really is a stage in for each of us in our development. And it doesn't technically, and I want to just be clear, if you are part of a spiritual organization or church or something, it doesn't mean you have to leave it. It means that you have to find that sense of your own direction. That idea of the hero's journey. The hero goes out into the wilderness and on their own path, and breaks through all of these thickets and challenges, and it really is very much like that. And it is wonderful, actually. It's very freeing. That's where self-empowerment comes in. It's like, oh, so I can go off and be myself, which is actually a whole new idea if we're at that stage of having relied on other people for learning and for truth. And it is also a challenge because when we get out there, it's very easy to get, as Philip mentioned, lost in the wilderness because we don't have a map. And interestingly, when we started, which was decades ago, there wasn't much out there even. So when we left the spiritual organization where we started, we didn't have any idea of where to go. And it actually took us, I think, probably from the time we left, about 4 years to find a reliable process for accessing guidance and wisdom, which we're going to share actually as part of this presentation, because it's, for us, it's the foundation of everything that we do, finding the truth within, because each of us is unique and nobody can tell you what's right for you on your journey. They can give you advice and you can consider it, and it's good to receive input from other people, as I mentioned, but they can't ultimately be the ones who decide. Because if that happens, what also commonly happens is you end up following this path and you start thinking, well, my heart is not in this. And I think that we also reached a point in our lives where our heart just wasn't in the direction we were going. We were successful. I was an architect. Philip was an educator. We were successful. We had the house, the cars. We never had children. It was not part of the plan, apparently. We had 2 dogs, vacations. We had it. It looked good. If it's like if you write down the list of things, it was all fine, but it wasn't. And I really felt like I was dying because I wasn't empowering myself to follow my own path. And so that's what we really want to talk about discovering the power that lies within oneself. True power. We're talking about a transcendent form of power. It's not about having power over other people. And it's not just about preventing other people from having power over you. It's like, okay, so who am I and what kind of power can I access within myself to further myself on the journey and really live? We believe we're all here to live and grow and to feel fully alive and vibrant and to be discovering things and just to be thrilled by the whole thing. And very few people live that way, but it is possible, and that's what we want to share.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess from there we go to, okay, so if if this wasn't it, then what is the next step in being fully empowered?
What it really means to be empowered. Um, so people often associate these days empowerment with things like the women's movement, women being empowered or employees being empowered, and that's all wonderful and part of the journey. What we're talking about today is something broader or more inclusive that includes all of that and much more, which is your spiritual empowerment. And that's based on the choices and the way you live your life. So we're talking about how you're choosing here and what is most exciting and fulfilling to you. And sometimes that's dealing with some of your fears and doubts, as we'll go more into it. A process that we sometimes use is we call mud to mountaintop. It's a kind of a soul centering process. And I thought we could maybe do it today and get even some input with some of you about going to the mountaintop, this higher perspective of what it's like to be empowered and see things from that greater perspective. So if you just imagine breathing some clear breaths for a moment through your nose and exhaling, and as you're letting yourself relax a little bit in this brief experience to engage more empowerment, going up to this empowered mountaintop, and just allow yourself, as you relax, to go up, ascend to the mountaintop in whatever way is right for you. You may get a sense or a feeling of this mountaintop with its panoramic view, its sense of depth and breadth and awareness and the fresh air. And on it, you get to see far and wide and also be here in the moment, knowing that you're empowered in each moment that you choose to be in that moment. And you can get a big perspective without really knowing what's going on that much in the future, but you can be here now and head out in the direction that's right for you. And as you're feeling this empowerment from the mountaintop, you can sort of fill in this blank. I'm empowered by. I feel empowered when I empower myself by. And just allow those words to complete that sentence, that image, that sense of empowerment. I am empowered by. What comes to mind? Something that's informing you from that greater awareness. You might be empowered by choices you make, the support you give and receive. being in the moment, letting go, following your dreams, your goals, and other things that empower you, being in the moment. Okay, coming back down from the mountaintop, being where you are in the moment. And I'm just curious for some of you, what kind of came to mind for some of you about being empowered? You can just kind of unmute yourself. You're empowered by what came to mind. I'll fill in the blank there from the mountaintop.
I'm empowered by the beauty of the world.
I like that. Thanks, Susan. That's a beauty. Yeah, and you can also put it in the chat box if you want. Also, thank you for that. What else was someone else empowered by? Sort of enchanted by it too. That might be another part of empowerment from what Susan said. One more. I'm empowered by Evie.
By following my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I am following my dreams right now as we speak.
That's empowering. That's inspiring too. That empowers the rest of us when other people take the way and create a pathway forward. As they go forward, we all kind of go forward with you and support you. And you're more in a supportive place.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's
and
great.
Daniela mentioned in the chat that she's empowered by love. And I think that that's true too. We'll be talking a little bit more about that it is love is an energy, a vibration that provides a lot of opportunities.
And Shelley says in the chat, by rebirthing of my life. And that it is a rebirthing. It's sort of a death and rebirth, like you're dying to your old self and creating a new self. That's a good point. I like that. So what it really means to be self-empowered is about being fully yourself. And that means who you really want to be and letting go of a lot of the programming. It takes a while to realize how much we've been programmed we need to be just to survive and get going in life from the time we were in the womb, even previous lifetimes. So we have all this programming, what our parents have told us, what our teachers have told us, what the government has told us, all these things that sort of keep us safe and conform so we survive. And that has a purpose, but at a certain point, we need to cast that off. Start to shed it like an old skin and go maybe like the caterpillar go into the cocoon to come out as a butterfly eventually, sooner or later, to outgrow those old programming that you're supposed to be this way, even if it, is something, good to do. And some people it might be really good. I remember one of she turned into our students, Marian Hakata, way back years ago, a few decades ago, took one of our small classes. She was very shy at the time. She was in the human resource section at the AT&T at the time and was getting burnt out there, and really wanted to go into healing and coaching, but she didn't really know how, and she took step by step, took some training, actually quite a bit of training with us, and eventually became her own healing business, which she's done successfully for years, because she was willing to get out of the shadow of her old self, the restriction of it. And sometimes it can be a very painful straitjacket that we're in. Even though it's painful, we still accept it, thinking it's the only way it is, whereas it's not. We can choose to break out of it and fly like the butterfly that we are meant to be, if we so choose to be. And part of that is the self-empowering choices. What are you going to choose to do? Are you going to choose to do the old way, the way you've always done it? Or are you going to explore new ways? And it may be very small. In fact, it often is very small. We can't really see that much into the future, but we can get a sense of where we want to go, what empowers us, what feels good, what feels like it has energy and aliveness, and what feels boring, deadening, draining. As Jane said, she felt like her soul was dying at a certain point earlier before she was waking up to all that self-empowerment in her journey. And I was an educator, a school teacher, which was good and fulfilling to a degree, but it just became, although it was useful and valuable, I know, and helped students, it wasn't enlivening for me. It wasn't where I was supposed to be. It felt like I was on borrowed time. and I needed to do more. And we were doing coaching and healing on the side and learning and having clients and starting trainings many years ago. And it eventually became a full-time thing because we just kept pursuing it because that was our passion. Jane, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that really covers it for me.
So we want to go into the bigger picture of the spiritual journey.
Right, right. And actually this is something that actually I think puts it more into perspective. For us, when we went through that whole process, it was like our rebirth. I think someone already just referred to the idea of empowerment being a rebirth. It really, we are talking about coming to a place where we are reborn in a different reality, you could say. And it is the mud to mountaintop, I think, is a description of it, with the mud being the current 3D reality, kind of what Wallace Wattles in his works, who wrote The Science of Being Great and The Science of Getting Rich decades ago, he called that the competitive plane. And he said that in his view, we were headed for what he called the creative plane, which has really resonated with us from the way that we have understood the journey from our experience. And also we've had that benefit of working with so many people. And we started actually in 1994, we started teaching a full 1-year program, which would go for a year. And for some people, it would go even longer. So we'd have an opportunity to observe them and how they were growing, because they were doing a lot of healing and getting a lot of guidance and insights. And we could actually watch it. And we, of course, were observing our own journeys. By the late 90s, we developed our own sense of what the stages were in the journey, and realized actually when we were done, we ended up with 7 stages, which we realized relate to the 7 major chakras or energy centers in the body. So it's like a ladder. We go up this ladder from the first chakra, first energy center, up. And here I want to just give an overview of the stages. The first one, you could call it recognition. It's kind of like we're going along, in this physical world thinking this is it. And so many people think this is it, and there is nothing after this life. And then there's a recognition somewhere inside of us that, gee, there's something more to this. And it could happen anytime in a person's life. I think it was funny because yesterday I was invited to do an interview, and they asked me, well, when did I wake up? A lot of people talk about, well, I woke up 4 years ago or whatever. And my life wasn't quite that way. The first time I can remember having that sense of recognition was when I was about 8 years old. I was with some of my girlfriends, and they were talking about something about popularity. And in my mind, I thought, well, I'm not here to be popular. I'm here. There's something deeper. There's a deeper reason for me to be here. And of course, at 8 years old, I had no idea what that meant. But it was interesting because at the time, we were on this hillside overlooking an expansive view, like Philip was mentioning on the mountaintop process. And it is actually true. There are ways that we can, you could say, manipulate our own minds. And one of the ways is by having an expansive view, because when you're looking at an expansive view, it expands your mind. And there's even additional magic in kind of the change between elements, and the change between like a sunset between day and night, a sunset at the beach, looking over the expansive ocean. There's a lot of magic and and also that expansiveness built into it. So we have those moments when we recognize, well, there's more to this, but we don't really do much about it right away. And then the second stage, we call it breaking loose or renunciation, which is the final product. And that is the point where whatever we're doing and whatever it is that we're using as an authority, we start to wonder, and this is what we did. We were already in a spiritual group, Philip and I, we were searching. And we realized that we need to go off on our own path. So it's kind of like you're in this herd of the mass consciousness and you decide, well, now I'm going to leave. And you jump over the fence and you're off in the wilderness. And there is no roadmap. That's part of the problem. You get out in the wilderness and it's kind of like, oh, well, now what? And you also get out in the wilderness. This is when people start doing things that might be uncharacteristic of themselves. You know, they might start dressing differently, you know, go out and start painting instead of having a job, or just, it could be anything, just finding their own selves. But then by doing that, the big question comes up. Okay, so if I'm not that person in the herd and I'm out here, who am I? And that's what takes us to that deep soul searching stage. So we've gone through the first three, and the solar plexus, which it's hard to see, it's right here, you know, that's your power center, which takes you then to the heart, which is your sense of self and your life energy. And that stage, then when you've claimed your power, then the next step actually is to embrace yourself and embrace your greatness as a magnificent spiritual being. Because we're all wonderful spiritual beings. We're all wonderful, well, we're wonderful human beings. And I think that to actually make it through this stage, we have to start seeing and understanding within our own hearts what the truth is of who we are, and to let go of all of the judgments that we have about ourselves, whether we feel flawed or inadequate, however we define it, like I'm not good enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not whatever. Well, for myself, I felt deeply flawed when I was younger. I can remember I thought anybody who has any kind of spiritual wisdom is going to know it. And I felt like I had to hide myself so they couldn't see how flawed I was. And it really was that sense of being flawed. It was a misunderstanding. So whatever it is, inadequacy, you know, undeserving, however it is in a person's mind, that is the thing that's preventing us from truly embracing ourselves and our power. We've started, but we haven't, it isn't a complete process, really. It is, ultimately, it's a journey. But the more we can discover ourselves, the more capable we are of empowering ourselves. So in that stage, there is this big dip, kind of, it's like, it's what people commonly might call the dark night of the soul also. Because it's the time when we lose sight of, we don't know, we just don't know who we are. We know we're not that, and we haven't come to the next part. And so it's very confusing. But when we come out of it with a sense of the truth, then we are more powerful. We have the power then to do things that we never could have done before.
Yeah, it's good
and
to
that's
get
when
support through this period too.
Right. So it is, then it's about, then we move up to the fifth chakra, the fifth stage, which is expressing our uniqueness and gaining our sovereignty, which is another, really, I would say, another level of empowerment, of having that sense of our own space. Like, I can occupy my own space, and you can all occupy your own space too. We don't have to interfere with each other's space. We don't actually have to compete. We don't have to prove anything to anyone. So self-empowerment really is about what we allow ourselves. And also, we have to shed away some of the people and things that are preventing us from fully embracing who we are. I know my parents never accepted me for that. When I was an architect, that was okay, but the spiritual stuff, they practically disowned me. They wrote me out of their will, you know, everything they could. And I guess I was empowered enough not to let that stop me. I just told them, well, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm going to follow my path. And that's really what it's about, is not allowing people to threaten you or to take control over you. Because the journey, when we get to that point, of expressing our uniqueness, then we have that enough soul awareness that we also understand that we have a purpose, that we're here for a reason. And that makes it even more exciting. That's when it really got exciting for us, because we decided our purpose was to help to create a more loving world where everyone's unique gifts are honored and nurtured. And now we direct a whole nonprofit organization that's dedicated to that. And we're still excited about it. This makes us feel alive. And whatever it is for you, it can be anything for a person. It doesn't have to be like this big thing, change the world. It can be, I'm a chef, and it just makes my heart feel good to watch people eat this wonderful food that I make and nurture themselves and entertain themselves and leave feeling better. Whatever it is, it's your unique gift that you came here to share. And then from there, we go to the third eye, which is really about our vision. Our vision becomes clear. And this is another thing for many people, their vision isn't clear. Like, where are you going with your life? I have no idea, And you'll never know really the whole thing. As a creator, it's a creative process. And really the most you can know clearly is your next step.
Mm-hmm.
But you still can have a sense of it. It just you have to be willing to kind of go with the flow, because it may not take you where you think you're going. It might take you,
Right.
actually, it might take you to something better. So this is really about, by clarifying our vision, we're integrating our roles as creators. And then the seventh chakra, of course, is about our connection to the divine, and also to our sense of wisdom, of truth. And so then we fully anchor that sense of truth in our lives.
Right.
And to us, it really is about bringing spirit into form. Some people think, well, none of this is real anyhow, so it doesn't really matter. And that is fine for them. We all have our own paths, but we feel like the important thing is to bring spirit into form, so you're living it. You're living that spiritual life. And that's where it becomes so rewarding and miraculous. I think the further you go. And then, of course, it's self-empowering. You're empowering yourself more and more with every step you take. And I know I've thought over the years, I never tire of the story of the soul. It's like, it's always, to me, just the most exciting thing, and how each of us blossoms. So that really, to me, is the key then to understanding, kind of have a sense of it, and really focus. If you are off, once you've gotten off out of the mainstream, out of the herd, then really discovering who you are in your heart and connecting very clearly with the guidance and wisdom that you have, because that's what's going to take you where you want to go.
Right. And that takes us to the power of accessing the truth within.
Right.
And it becomes very real. This truth within, it doesn't become something very abstract and vague. It becomes more important than the things that were so tangible and materialistic and seem to be what life was all about, the externals, which are useful and interesting and tools. But the internals is really what we're here for and what it's all about. And Jane and I, as we were led in the directions of coaching and healing, and luckily we grew together, surprisingly. And that was where our talents and gifts led. And as Jane said, it's really moment to moment. There are goals and things, like if you're doing a program, like we have the coaching healing program coming up there, it's a specific goal that takes specific things. And then there's general directions, like we're going in areas that fulfill coaching and healing, which keeps changing as we do and as the world does. And then there's really the moment to moment, like this makes sense today, and what's my intentions today, what do I feel good that I'm living fully today. And at the end of the day, wow, what did I do? What did I accomplish? This worked out well. This didn't work out well. It was kind of a quiet day. It was a very busy day. Maybe this, I learned this, I'll do this differently. So you're going in the right direction. You're following your heart. And part of that we found is what we call a holistic approach. And I'm sure you're all familiar with that term holistic, meaning body, emotions, mental, and spiritual. And those skills, those intelligences we're all endowed with. At first, as we grow up, they're pretty unconsciously. We develop as a child a certain amount of awareness on these different levels, awareness of our body, of our feelings. Our intelligence, cognition grows, and we have some sense connected to spirit. And as Jane says, those stages of development we become more aware, depending on how far we go. Generally, for most people, the using the intelligences consciously comes often around midlife, when there's a transition or a crisis, where we become more aware, and the things that we used to do, we took for granted, now become more intentional tools, or things maybe we don't want to do. We're more aware of maybe self-care and taking care of our body and being in rhythm. We're more aware of our actions and what we say and do, and kindness and forgiving. And we're aware of our body, what takes care of our body, what are our emotions telling us, what is the feedback. If we're feeling anxious, that's something that we can do something about, rather than just burying it and repress it. And we have a lot of tools, coaching and healing tools. We're going to share one with you. We're going to do a demonstration in just a couple minutes here of how you can transform areas to empower yourself with spiritual kinesiology. And then mentally, what's going on with your thoughts? How do you want to direct your mind? How do you want to get a sense of the big picture? How things make sense? How to be more intentional? What's worth thinking and focusing about, and what's not worth thinking about? So you're more present to what you're doing as a tool, and what you're here to do. Because many of the things that are most troublesome are what you're actually here to find out about. They're actually the very things that you came to life to discover, learn, and grow from. The very problems you want to get rid of and avoid are the very things you want to go through by harnessing the intelligences that you have more consciously, soul connected on the mountaintop, so to speak, to become aware and to empower yourself. So all of that is part of the empowerment process. Jane, did you want to add to that?
Well, I think you made a very important point, which is also instrumental to the whole journey, is that for each of us, there is one area in our life that particularly is our greatest lesson. And it is by mastering that lesson that our gifts emerge and really our purpose. And that also, we share that one in our courses too. It relates to one of the 7 energy centers. So in our case, actually, both of us, it's expression. And for me, I was very, very quiet and shy when I was younger. I could never have talked in front of a group of more than 3 or 4 people without feeling completely flabbergasted by the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was by actually releasing all the blocks that I had to expressing myself that my gift was able to emerge, and that's what I'm doing now is teaching.
Mm-hmm.
and sharing ideas. And when that happens too, for each of us, whatever it is that the lesson and gift is, it's like there are a lot of different lessons that we're learning as we go along, but it's like a theme that is weaving through all of them, and you keep coming back to it, which is really fascinating when you start seeing it in relation to a person's whole life, how that evolves.
Right. And just to give kind of a flavor of this, one of our students who dealt with spiritual kinesiology, of how you empower yourself by healing yourself, she had this to say: I've dealt with this very difficult relationship with my father before, but in one spiritual kinesiology session, we sometimes call it apex healing, all the emotional charge was gone. Now I can actually appreciate the good and insecure man that my father was, and to my surprise, admire some very wonderful qualities he had. The lifelong hurt and resentment are gone, and that feels so good. So our life takes on a very different meaning. Instead of resenting our father and holding these grudges, or our family, we find the gifts in them, and we find the forgiveness, and we find out how to go on and use it, the grist for the mill, the compost, to make a greater life and empower ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
So we can go into the foundation of which we call soul centering, and the mud to the mountaintop was a taste of that we did a couple minutes ago.
That's kind of a variation on the same theme. And this is the process actually we learned in the late 1980s that helped us to reach our guidance. And at that time, as I mentioned briefly, I was an architect, so I was very left-brained. And I needed something that was very tangible and clear to me that I was actually accessing guidance. And I'm just going to share the process briefly. When learning it, we generally recommend spending a little more time, but this will just give you a taste of it. And so what you start, as always, with closing your eyes and focusing on your breath, because what that does is it starts to shift your focus from what's happening outside of yourself to your body and what's happening within. So you can breathe in pure energy and light with each breath. Nice full breaths, which is the in-breath is fully embracing life. So a nice big in-breath is embracing life to the greatest. And then as you exhale, releasing anything that you don't need in this moment. So if you feel any tension or notice any discordant energy anywhere around you, you can just release it to the universe to be neutralized again. And as you breathe then and relax, you can feel clearer with each breath. Also, it's very powerful and empowering to ask any energy that's not your own to leave your space. Some people purposely invade our spaces, as I'm sure you know. Some people do it unintentionally, and sometimes we just pick up energy because there's a lot of low energy out there that we can kind of pick up, and just ask any energy that's not your own to leave your space now. So you can just have your own energy there and send it back lovingly, even if you feel it wasn't sent to you lovingly. Just send it all back, which may feel like a bit of a relief. And in the same way, we leave bits of ourselves in other times and other places. So you can also ask to have all of your energy that you've left here and there to come back to you in this moment now and feel it coming back. And you might actually feel a sensation. I usually feel a sensation when I do this. I can feel that energy returning to me. Can also ask any thoughts that you don't need right now to drift off, breathing that light into your mind, your brain. The rational mind wants to be able to comment on things like this, and you can just tell it that this is the time for experience, and then when you're done, it can evaluate. And that usually, I think, calms it a bit. So you can just let those thoughts drift away. And the whole purpose of what we've done so far is so that you can feel more like yourself, and you can be more present in this moment in your own space. So you might just notice that. And then what we're aiming for is heart and soul, the love that you feel in your heart. So the next step is to start to breathe that love into your heart, and just allow the heart then for it to activate the love that already is there. And as it does that, you might feel it like, if you're more feeling oriented, like the heart, you feel an intensity building in your heart. Or if you're more visual, it might be like a light, and every time you breathe more love into it, it becomes brighter. And as that happens, you can just allow that love from your heart to start to emanate and radiate all around, filling your whole body with it. Our cells are intelligent and they love love. So you can even imagine a heart in every cell, which to me makes me tingle. I love doing that. And then just allow that love to radiate out all around you. Love is connectedness. So we're talking about connectedness with truth, with the divine, with your soul, and with that higher wisdom actually that comes down from the beings of light who are around us. So you can just allow that love to radiate out and give yourself more space. We contract ourselves because we feel like we need to survive in society. This is your time and your space. Just allow yourself to expand out freely. And that's empowering too. It feels so good. Like I can be me now in this moment. And you can carry it further, bringing light down from source, a higher frequency of energy, just asking it to come down, that light above you. Imagine there's a light there and just feel it emanating down, sending the perfect light you need right now. And fill your body and that whole space around you with that light. And then when you feel that sense of connectedness and love, you know you're in a place where you can receive guidance because you're connected with your guidance. I think this is the thing that's really magical about the process is it's not, you can tell if you're there or not. And sometimes you might feel, well, something's really bothering me and I can't get there, which is when you need healing, and that's why we do healing. But for now, just opening to that love, you might also feel like there's a little message for you about the truth of who you are in this moment. And often the messages are so simple, we almost dismiss them. Like you are a being deserving of everything good. You know, that's what just came to my mind. And I might think, oh, that's just, it's too general. And it is very general. You can actually get much more. But this is just a taste of it. And rather than saying, well, let's come back to our normal waking state, which you actually do want to come to a more kind of awake state, you can bring this with you. I mean, to me, the ultimate goal is to be in this loving space as much as possible because it's my most resourceful space for making decisions and going through my life and nurturing myself. The body thrives on love. And stress, stress is the opposite, which is actually a killer in some cases even. So just return now to your normal waking state, breathing in more active energy, but you just hold on to that love. You can bring it with you. So that's where that's the foundation. Once you empower yourself, then being connected is the next part of the layer on the foundation. And it's an important one. It's a beautiful one. Then when you start, you can write, often we'll write down guidance because then the rational mind can't come in and say, well, that's not true or that's not right. That's not right. That can't be the message. Just write it out and then you can decide later. So that's it, Philip. That's
right.
self-centering.
Yes, that's very powerful. That's a wonderful thing to practice regularly. And so you just have that as kind of your guidance in the way you be through life. That's more who you are and how you orient. When you say, what should I do? It after a while it becomes very evident because that's guiding you rather than your mind and what other people are telling you, quote, to do. And, which is really sort of actually disempowering versus empowering. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And as a note, we're going into healing now. Love is the most healing energy there is. And it is, you could say, the essence of spiritual energy. Spiritual energy is the deepest healing. And love is the healing energy. So I think that Philip will be building on that in the process here that he's going to do.
Right.
The demonstration.
We want to do a spiritual kinesiology, a healing with the soul using muscle testing demonstration today, right here live. and that should be fun. That will be interesting. And we have these checklists, which we teach in our coaching program in spiritual kinesiology. And you don't have to actually even use muscle testing, which is something we teach. It's a very valuable tool. You can just use the checklist as a reference to get insights into the unconscious mind of how it relates to what might be imbalanced. So today, Evie has volunteered graciously and to see a way we can help her empower ourselves. Evie, hi. Thanks for volunteering. And Evie has taken our coaching and healing training too from Florida. Evie, hey, what would you like a little help with empowerment?
I would like to be able to continue to listen to my heart and avoid all the other distractions that keep trying to penetrate.
Well, that's a good one. So very good. So what we do is with this checklist, I'll put this up. So we use this is called a basic checklist for your internal and external world. So you can check, she can check intuitively. I can muscle test, just see things that come up that might be affecting her, her empowerment to listen. The issue she wanted help with empowerment was listening to her heart, which is a great one. So, and we don't know what these mean yet, and we'll just see what I'm getting here, which ones. Okay. And I'm just going through them. That's why I'm quiet here, just going through this checklist. Well, for now, I'll just focus on the internal world. Yeah. The ones that I'm coming up with is focusing on your heart, the sound of your voice, and your age. And of those, any of those stand out to you? I mean, I can do more muscle testing on that. Did any of those stand out to you? Things that just something had a little something to you? Which of those stood out to you?
The heart one.
Yeah. So when you, okay, and that's what you said at the begin with. So focusing on your heart. So it sort of goes back to where you began. So the way to go a little further is to say, when you do focus on your heart, what comes up for you, Evie?
When I focus on my heart, sometimes I feel some doubt if I'm doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And because of external doubt, from maybe family or whatnot.
You mean external, like criticism or
right. Well,
from
yes.
others, you mean?
Mm-hmm. From others. Pressure. Sort of like, maybe what I'm doing is out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So a way to, when we do this, is just to take a specific, because there could be a variety of things, although they tend to relate to each other, but for effective healing in this, we just go into one specific example of maybe someone pressuring you, which puts pressure on your heart, apparently. And this may or may not be a physical thing, although it might, but we're definitely talking about energy and emotions here. So can you remember a time briefly, when someone, maybe family or whatever, is putting pressure, criticism on you on your path you're taking, and your path and the path you're going for is, do you want
holistic life coach, spiritual.
Okay. So this path to becoming a holistic spiritual life coach, and it could be whatever anyone's path is, and that's yours for now. And some people are criticizing or pressuring. Do you remember one incident of that? It could be anything small or large, one time.
Yes.
Do you want to just real briefly in a couple sentences say what was going on?
It was a talk between my family, my daughter, my husband, and and my son-in-law were there, and they were just talking about, you know, what it is that I'm doing and why I'm doing it and things like that.
And you mean the way all of them were talking was kind of critical, or was not?
Yeah, it was critical.
Was unsupportive. So
Right.
were they all criticizing you seemingly, or?
No, it was one particular person.
Okay, so one of them. So that might be
Mhm.
good to just go in, because the other ones maybe they weren't. So, one family member was criticizing you. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And the
Okay.
other ones were just, conversing,
Yeah,
and
but
that's it.
they weren't coming and defending you or supporting you particularly. They were.
It was like, no, like joking about it, sort of.
Okay, so that might not have been too supportive under the circumstances.
No.
It doesn't sound like it. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so the family members criticizing, would that be an accurate word?
Yes.
Criticizing you,
Yes.
and you're feeling
Unsupportive,
okay.
unsupported and alone,
Okay.
doubtful,
Okay.
frustrated.
Okay.
I
So
can keep on.
yeah, so a bunch of, which one stands out? Which one had the highest intensity? Do you know? Were you most
Alone.
alone? 1 out of 10, 10 being totally alone. What number would you give it?
15.
Okay, well, 10 plus I'll say. Okay, intense. All right, yeah, I get you. Yeah, the loneliness of the path narrowing and going forward in the narrows. Yep, I think a lot of us can relate to what you're saying. All right, so you are alone, and we'll do a reframing and anchoring, which is part of spiritual kinesiology. We did the muscle testing here already, and so we did 2 actual little soul centerings already in this short webinar. And one was going to the mountaintop, and the other one was the soul centering that Jane conducted us through. Do one of those stand out to you that you can reference now?
The soul centering.
Okay. And when you get in that soul centering place, what's that like for you?
It feels very good. It feels refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels, it energizes me.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me hope.
Okay. That's nice. Very good. So when we reframe and anchor, we touch one part of our body for the block or the resistance, in this case, the loneliness. And where do you feel that in your body, Evie?
My heart.
Not surprised. So put your left hand on your heart for that, just for a moment. And then connecting with that, the soulfulness, the feeling refreshed, energized, and hopeful, right? Just go there for a moment. And as you're feeling more refreshed, energized, and hopeful, put your right hand on your knee. So you have your hand on your heart and knee, and then let the hand go from the heart. So you have the knee. Just take a deep breath in and remove the hand from your heart. Take another deep breath. And when you're in this place that's more hopeful and energized, what's that like for you from there, Evie?
Oh, it's colorful. It's refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
It's fresh air. I can breathe fresh air.
Great.
It's loving.
And removing your hand from your right knee. So we did a round of what's called reframing and anchoring with the soul. And okay, so when you kind of go back to review that experience with the relative, the family member, what's that like now?
I feel empowered.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I can take them on. I could take anything on.
Mm-hmm. Great. So what would be your next step to do or say at this point about empowering yourself with your path and it may have to do with your family member or not,
What to say to them, or in
Well,
general?
what to say or do, you tell me. You're the
When they tell me that, when they say something
okay.
negative, okay.
Go for it, because they probably will.
They probably will.
Yeah.
Even though they're trying to go along with everything, they probably will make a little,
Jab.
but I will just say, trust me. I've got
Just say,
this.
trust me. Okay. Trust me, I got this. What do you usually do or say? What have you been doing and saying?
I stay quiet.
You're just quiet. So you're kind of just you're just kind of, they're just jabbing you and you're just not saying anything. But now you'd say, trust me, I got this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You might say.
It was even worse before. It was even worse before. They
So
thought
you've made
they were confusing it with something like dark. And I'm like, no,
saying you're
it's
really losing
light.
your, yeah. So
This is really bright.
so you've made some progress from where you began. So this is a journey in itself with which it is for us all with our relatives and family members as we break onto our own path and develop our own individuation and where it's going. And sometimes that, changes our relationship to family members and so forth, as we know. Okay. So anything else, how you're feeling? I'm just muscle testing now with your heart. I'm getting a strong instead of a weak on that area, by the way, relative to your empowerment. Anything else you might want to note about this little process?
It makes me breathe deeper.
Yeah, great. Very good. Thank you for doing that. And so that was just shows you how quickly people can change. It seems like nothing's happening, but it's quite powerful when you heal from the soul. And as you do this more and more, life can be quite revelatory and change miraculously. And that's why Jane said it earlier, when we watch people grow through time doing this, especially over a year doing healing processes, learning them and doing them on yourself, how people grow in the stages of personal spiritual development. Jane, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, every time I witness this process, it feels just wonderful to me. And I think that one of the things that stands out for me, and this has been all these years that we've been doing this, is that you can feel the truth in what comes through in a situation like this with Evie right now. And it's not polarizing either. This is another thing about when we're talking about spiritual wisdom, the life is polarized on the physical plane. It's like right and wrong, good and bad, it's us against them, that kind of, thing that happens. And when you have people polarizing against you in a situation like Evie was talking about, it's very tempting to be defensive. But what she said was not at all defensive. So I see it kind of like a triangle, like there's kind of the two poles, and then there's something, the soul is up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I always realize in my position as what I would call a facilitator is that I could never come up with anything better than what the client does.
Right.
I have some information about different things and coaching that I can coach people, but the wisdom comes from within her. And I think I could tell her, well, just tell them, trust me. If I had told her that before, that wouldn't have meant anything, right? It has to come from within to really feel true. And that's the beauty of this working from this kind of a perspective, this approach.
Right.
And to me, it just amazes me too about how strong the spirit is in people.
Right.
And I think all of you could feel that coming through Evie too. It's like her spiritual strength just came right through. And it prevailed.
Right before ours. And it was interesting on that muscle test. Yeah, nice heart there for Danielle, right?
Yeah.
One of the muscle testing, the checklist was the sound of her voice, which I picked up on the muscle testing, which was interesting that she said she was quiet when she was being criticized. And now she's going to speak more of her truth or stand up for herself with her voice. Another piece. So we have one little more piece of teaching here before we share on how to go further with all of this. If you want to go deeper into coaching and healing, learn how to do this more for yourself. And that's something we call the transformational triad, a kind of a good overview here for self-empowerment. Jane?
Right. And this is something that we realized. It's interesting, you know, how I said you take one step at a time. We put all these different pieces together for our program, and things keep evolving even now because we keep evolving and learning new things. But a while back we realized that there are three components of our growth, and you need all of them to be kind of working along with each other for things to continue, or at some point they get stuck. And the three lines, we would call them three lines in the transformational triad, are self-development. In other words, that would be Evie developing her own self and her own self-awareness and ability to access her guidance. Dream development, which is really about learning how to manifest the things that you want when you have a dream. First, you need that dream to emerge from your heart, and then you need to be able to manifest it. And then the third one is purpose. And you can see it on this little diagram, which it looks like there's an order to it, but actually they're all kind of converging and operating in conjunction with each other. So you're discovering your greatness, realizing your dreams, and making a difference through purpose development. It's like, what is the difference you want to make in the world? And like I said, it doesn't have to be something earth shaking, like I'm going to go out and change the world just myself. It's like, I'm going to contribute something that's positive to the world. And that's purpose development. And when you actually have them all kind of functioning together, then there is a synergy, and you can move very quickly through your development, which was another thing for me, I guess, being left-brained and wanting to be able to move forward. I can remember earlier just reading esoteric texts and things about reading that some people only make one step, forward on the spiritual journey. And I thought, well, there must be some other way.
Right.
And of course, I think the energy is shifting on the planet anyhow, so we have more opportunities. But it also is having these tools that allow you to really understand, well, first, the nature of the journey. You have the steps, you kind of understand what your lessons are, you understand that you're looking at these three elements and putting them together. Some people refer to that threefold flame in the heart, which is a traditional idea of that flame that is growing. And it becomes this miraculous journey where, in essence, then it becomes every moment is part of that journey. And it really is about living more in the moment and being a participant in it. And the bottom line is that it's all about love. So to bring yourself into your body in the moment, it is about focusing on love and loving yourself, of course. And everyone else, even those who misunderstand, who are, you might say, have gone astray or just haven't quite woken up yet, don't even have to judge. It's just about moving forward and appreciating the journey and understanding that there is a soul in all of those people, even if it doesn't understand you now.
Right. Right. So that is all about empowering yourself with coaching and healing. And some people may want to go further into all of this. And on June 15th, we're starting our holistic coach and healer certification program. And Evie was involved with that too. And actually Daniela is here, is currently enrolled. And it's a wonderful program for the people that it's right for, who want to go deeper into the heart and soul and empowerment and spiritual growth. And it's for people who want that, and maybe they want to develop skills for practice or whatever they're doing now, their current career or occupation. And it may complement people from all walks of life have taken it, business people, lawyers, real estate people, coaches, healers already, going further, people in the health field, people who are teachers, people housewives, housemen, all kinds of people take it, is what I'm saying. And some people have taken quite a bit, and some people are just starting out. And it's sort of a flexible program because we developed it over 25 years, so we know it works very well for the people it's right for. And it will help you be more confident and competent, and help you with your spiritual growth, both personally and professionally. And you're going to be taught by Jane, and I will be teaching in a small group setting like this, and you'll be practicing with partners and be with people like Evie and other people who can really help you too, and get to know it for personal professional relationships and support partners, going even beyond the class. Very valuable, hard to find. Jane, do you want to add a little bit more? I can also ask Evie if she wants to add to it, or Daniela, or I think, yeah, go ahead. Jane, did you want to mention something, or?
Yes, I think really, as Philip suggested, this course is for people who feel that it's the right thing. And it is interesting because people, they'll be searching on the internet and they've never heard of us, and they find our website and the course, and they say, I can feel it's just the thing for me. And that's what we want. We want people to feel that in your heart, that that's the right thing for you, because that's when it really, along with everything else, that's when it really makes sense.
Right.
And then you have a spiritual community around you, which is also very important and hard to find in many cases. So we're like a family.
We are. And Evie or Danielle, I know since you're involved, you want to mention, Evie, what your experience has been taking the program?
It's been a metamorphosis for me. Yes, it has been. I've been shedding my skin, so to speak, and it's like a metamorphosis. It's all I can think of right now.
Good word.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful experience. I highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Daniela, you want to share? Daniela, there's 3 courses, so they're 3 4-month courses, so it kind of segments, and people are in different places. And Daniela started in the last course. Daniela, do you feel like sharing anything about your experience thus far?
Yes, I do. I just finished the manifestation portion of it, and I truly feel that I manifested this for myself. This is so supportive for me right now, and everything that I've gone through thus far on the journey. And this is like exactly what I needed. It's a big piece of the puzzle. And I'm so grateful that the universe has brought Jane and Philip to me. Thank you guys. And I know that you guys have walked the path ahead of me. You guys have already gone it, and it's so comforting to know that you've been there. It's awesome. Love you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We love
Thanks.
you too.
That was great. Thank you for sharing that. And we do begin, as I mentioned, June 15th coming up here. And there's a URL here, tinyurl.com/HL coach, depending on where you are, and our phone number to call us at our nonprofit Awakenings Institute. And it will be a lot of learning, a lot of growth, a lot of fun, some crying, some laughing, ahas, transformations, breakthroughs. A lot of it will be in store for you if you feel like it. And so the idea is, first of all, just to connect with that page, give us a call. We'll talk to you, see if it's right. It may, take a process of kind of going through it and sorting out everything. And there are payment plans. There's different ways to go about this. And there's a way for it to work out for you if you're so inclined. And we'd love to connect with you if that's so. Jane, do you want to add anything else before we close here?
I have a friend here.
Right.
They're very loving. I think for anybody who's here, I hope that you saw the value of soul centering, because I think that process can really transform lives. And having that sense of knowing the truth for you, if you don't have it already, and maybe you do, but it's just for me, that was what really enlivened me when I started doing it. I went from not wanting to get up in the morning to I had to get up earlier. I was still working as an architect. I had to get up earlier to do soul centering, but I loved it. Right. I couldn't wait to get up in the morning. And I'm still in the same way. I love to get up in the morning. I get up early now before the sun comes up, and life is great.
Right. So you may want to empower yourself further. Hopefully this helped empower yourself with coaching and healing. You may want to go further with us. Give us a call or connect with us on our website there at the tinyurl.com/HOL coach. Until next time, thank you, Evie, for volunteering there.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.